Alright, so this video is about why I can't even go back to my hometown. Why I can't go back to my hometown. So, my hometown is the place that I grew up, and then I started noticing some weird stuff, but I couldn't really put it into words. So I started a YouTube channel, if you remember me from John Michael's Adventures. It was a wacky, in-your-face YouTube channel with all kinds of political and religious topics and everything. Religion and politics and all this stuff. So, the whole point about the videos was I was trying to put into words what I was feeling and describing, which I failed. I have to admit that I failed, and I started doing a whole bunch of really controversial videos, and then I got banned from YouTube. So then the people that were watching that, which was a lot, they started thinking, oh, who's this guy? He can't even describe what he's trying to say in his own words. But now I do. Now I do. I can describe what I'm trying to say in my own words. And I wrote a book about it, and you can see that. Just Google drmicheldow.wordpress.com. So drmicheldow.wordpress.com, you can download the PDF, and you can see that there's a whole book. I wrote the book, and you can read that. It's in French and it's English. You can read it for free. I'm a published author, so you can see that. So that's what I was trying to say all along. All along, that there was this terrible, terrible, evil thing from the government and from my family, right? So, and if you're watching this and you're one of these victims, yeah, let me just say this. Mr. and Mrs. S, okay? Mr. and Mrs. S has two girls and a boy. Two girls and a boy. There's no marriages, there's no children, there's no grandchildren, and it doesn't look good, okay? Mr. and Mrs. B, okay? There's two girls and one boy. There's no marriages, there's no grandchildren, it doesn't look good. Mr. and Mrs. B, there's a girl and a boy. Okay, no marriages, no grandchildren. It doesn't look good. Mr. and Mrs. H, there's a girl. There's two boys. There's two boys. There's no marriages, no grandchildren. It doesn't look good. Mr. and Mrs. F, there's two boys. Okay, two boys. There's no grandchildren. Mr. and Mrs. L. All right. There's a girl. Okay, the husband died. She's a widow. There's no grandchildren. It doesn't look good. She's above the age of. I know this lady very, very well. She's, she passed her childbearing years. Let's put it scientifically, right? Her childbearing days are over, right? She's not married. Whatever. Let's be frank, right? There's something weird going on. Something extremely dangerous going on. And that, I'll just spell it out to you very, very plainly, is Dr. Michel Dow. And the likes of Dr. Michel Dow, including this gentleman here that was had a nice beard, right? A full face beard, right? A goatee, a beard. I remember the very, very manly, very manlier than I am, right? I had to shave my head because it's so hot, but manlier than I am because this guy was extremely manly, right? And now he's dressing up like a woman, and Dr. Michel Dow is affirming his delusion, right? And talking trash about me on Facebook, right? And saying that I'm going to tell you the whole story. When we get together, I'm going to tell you the whole story about how John Michael is what? What am I? What am I? Am I speaking some sort of false narrative? Am I the one that's pushing birth control pills that is causing abortions? The birth control pills don't cause abortions. They prevent the pregnancy. Well, that's not actually true. The birth control pills does not actually prevent pregnancy 100% of the time. Oh, it's 99.8. No, it's not. It's not. That is not actually true. And that is a marketing number. That's used for marketing. That's all it is. But the scientific data is 100% clear that it does prevent the pregnancy. It does at some times. So it will prevent the pregnancy at some times. Nobody's arguing against that. But the issue is that it will not prevent the pregnancy at some instances where the conception will be successful, and then the ZGA, the zygotic genetic code will be activated. The ZGA, if you're not sure about what I'm talking about, just download the embryology textbook. Just Google embryology and ZGA, and you'll see this is the beginning of life, right? The most precious, most important, valuable asset in the world, right? From the top of the mountains to the bottom of the deepest trench of the ocean, there's nothing more valuable than this. You can call it a zygote or embryo or blastocyst, but it's a baby. Congratulations, it's a baby boy or a baby girl. So the problem is these older windbags on Facebook and whatever kind of social media platform, they say, "Oh, you're so stupid because the pregnancy doesn't occur if you take the pills." Okay, well, so are you that negligent that you're just going to believe blindly Dr. Michelle Dell because she's a feminist, or are you just that much of an imbecile, right? So basically, the whole point is these women are basically just so negligent that they will just believe blindly that they're taking a pill and it will just, it just prevent the ovulation. It will prevent the conception. But that's not actually true. So they're believing a lie, and that's very, very important to highlight the fact that they are believing a lie. And no, my truth is no. They are believing a lie. How do I know that for sure? Because the ZGA is successful. The baby is conceived. There's a new set of DNA there. So what will happen to this beautiful baby? Well, unfortunately, he, a boy, or she, yeah, they, them, no, he or she, unfortunately, and this is very, very sad, will die at the later and very healthy stage of implantation. And this is a very natural stage of development. We've all implanted into the womb. That's the starting of a pregnancy. The implantation is the starting of a pregnancy. Okay, how arbitrary and nonsensical that is, right? So you wanna, and these OBGYNs will believe that. Will wholeheartedly believe that. They are OBGYNs and they will actually believe that. Nonsense. They will believe it. And I don't think that they actually believe it, but they will regurgitate it. Yeah? So the implantation is not the starting of a pregnancy. I mean, that's never going to happen. It never did happen. It never will happen. No matter how many times you will say it, it will never happen. It's just not a thing. Right? The ZGA is the starting of a pregnancy. I mean, that's just what it is. If you're not sure about that, just Google embryology and ZGA, right? The zygotic, which is the first, part. You know what happens is that there's a single cell there. That's the most important single cell. So there's some time where it will the mother's DNA will help this development, but when where the ZGA is complete, which is a very, very beautiful thing, the baby will develop on its own, and the cells will divide on its own, on his or her own. It's so beautiful. If you know anything about embryology, if you don't know, just stop this video. Go look at an embryology video. Who's that guy? Ninja Nerd. He's a good one. Yeah, well, he's a very, very nice guy. A Ninja Nerd. So Ninja Nerd, Embryology. Check that one out. There's also the book, The Developing Human. This is a great one, a great book. You you don't have to read very far. I was reading very, very extensively about the first, very, very beautiful, first. So from when the oocyte comes out and then the sperm will meet the egg, and that is actually a very, very cool thing. How the oocyte will not just let any old riffraff in, right? The oocyte, if you know anything about embryology, the oocyte will kind of like pick and choose the winner, right? The winner. I'm the winner. I'm a person. I'm a human being. Why? Because I had a ZGA, and if you have ears, you have a ZGA, and this ZGA happened at the beginning of your life, and what a wonderful occurrence that is, yeah. The dark side of this is that Dr. Michel Dow is the destroyer of worlds, the killer of a baby, right? So this ZGA, there's no justification for killing this baby. There's really not. And the most, it's such a nuisance, right? It's such a nuisance to know that, number one, she's doing that, and number two, she's talking trash and putting herself up on a pedestal. Like, I'd like to know this whole story. I'd like to know what kind of story she's going to tell behind my back. And then she's going to keep this bubble to herself until her deathbed, and she's going to not repent, yeah, and she's going to die and go to hell. And this is the story that I have for my cousin. That's literally my cousin that I have to live with, and everybody's so blind. All right, so the point about this is, how do I know that I'm not the crazy one, right? So I'd like to know that what I'm saying is true, and what these people are believing is a lie. So Right. So, well, I mean, there's the FDA's own publication. There's embryology. There's the AI agents help you to understand all this stuff. There's medical textbooks. There's the very very clear consequences of this. Right. What are the consequences? All these married couples don't have any grandchildren. And all of these we. I used to see her at these, barbecue events, okay? These barbecue events. Now, this barbecue event that she was at, Dr. Michelle Dow, and I was at, all these families that I remember looking at her and saying, okay, what about here and what about here? We would go to the house of these Mr. and Mrs. S, and there's a barbecue at Mr. and Mrs. S, and we were kids at the time, and we were running around the house and all this stuff, having a whole bunch of fun. And then now we're growing up, and I got a bunch of kids, and I'm waiting for grandchildren, but Mr. and Mrs. S, the married couple, don't have any grandchildren, right? So, I certainly would like to have grandchildren. That's why I don't necessarily enjoy having the high school flag, the colorful flag at the high school, and I certainly don't like these men dressed up as women around my children. I just don't want that because it's not some family values that I want. It's so perverted, and she calls herself a family doctor. Okay, here's the wonderful part about that is she's finally done. She's finally, after a few days ago, like literally like last week, she's finally retired. No more baby killing. All right, so that's good. That's good. So we can do the damage control. And the damage control and it would be great if she'd be like, hey, I repent. I'm repentant. And say, look, and the whole part about that is, right. You don't need to be very religious to understand how much of a crime. And if there's any part of you that understands heaven and hell and all this stuff, right? She's going to hell, right? She will go to hell. But Jesus can wash away the sins and all this stuff. That's the whole point of the New Testament. Literally the whole point of the New Testament. And that's really the wonderful part is that she could literally not go to hell, and she could, but she would need to, start talking about how deadly that is and how much of a terrible thing, and she would need to go to, some sort of conversion kind of thing and say, look, listen, I'm really, really incredibly sorry for the thousands, literally like 1,000 plus babies that I've killed. Let's say, for example, that all of the babies that were conceived, right, and then subsequently killed because of this the failure of the uterine implantation, were to be counted, I would estimate that it would be in excess of 1,000, right? 1,000. If you can understand the seriousness of what I just said, 1,000 victims, 1,000 legitimate human beings that she is personally responsible for putting her dirty signature on that prescription pad, right? What business does she have doing that anyways? She's a doctor. A doctor is supposed to cure an illness or at least treat it or whatever. So what is the illness? What is the actual illness that is in need of correction? Is it, the natural fertility? Is it the natural bodily function of fertility that is a medical illness in need of correction? Or is it the baby, him or herself, that is the illness in need of correction? It's so perverted and twisted, right? If you truly understand the thing, it's so perverted and twisted, and I literally cannot even sleep. That's how bad it is. That's how bad it is, right? So it's incredibly bad, right? Now, why am I talking about this? Well, and I do believe that I'm the perfect candidate to talk about that. We'll talk about that in another video. Thank you very much for tuning in. As I'll try to do one more here before I try to put myself to sleep. It's like 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning almost. I guess it would be 2:30 in the morning right now. And how can I even sleep because of this nonsense? It just keeps pounding in my head. I tried to end the channel. I tried to say, look, I'm done with this channel. And that it just keeps, but of course it's going to keep on because how egregious it is, all right? Any rational and reasonable person, but these people are not rational. They're not reasonable, and that's why I'm getting opposition to this thing. Anyway, I'll see you in the next video. Take care.